What's up, movie fans? Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm the Master of Movies Clay from the Hills Maniacs, and today I'm going to be bringing you inconsistencies I found in Alien. So for those of you not familiar with an inconsistencies video for what I do for these, it has been a while since I've done one, so I'll go through the criteria a little bit here. So basically what I do is I rewatch a movie and go through and write down plot points that don't make sense, or things that I found in the background that were kind of left there that don't fit, or just questions I have that are never really answered. And I know for like a movie like this with Alien, some of this stuff may be answered in the sequels, or even the prequels, but we are going with just specifically the movie Alien. So if it's not answered in that movie, I might have wrote it down as an inconsistency, because at the time when you watch this, you don't know that yet because there were no other ones. So I'm taking it from that perspective. So if you haven't watched any other ones, these are really fun to do. So go ahead and check out the other ones. And this is not meant to, say that I hate any movie or anybody involved with any movies. This is just for fun, and this is just things that I found because I like paying attention to like the side details and stuff. So at the beginning of the movie, we see the camera's kind of panning through the Nostromo, the ship that they're on, and the papers and then the clothes and all that stuff start blowing. And I guess my question is, maybe it was the cooling unit or the air conditioning on the ship that was blowing it. But I mean, is there kind of wind on the ship, because it's supposed to be, a sealed ship, and everybody's supposed to be in these pods, so nobody's walking past it that we know of, to blow these papers. But then we even see it later on. I don't know if maybe it was just for an eerie kind of effect or what, but it just doesn't really make sense that these papers and clothes are blowing, because there's not really any wind on the ship. And I don't know, it could just be from the air conditioning. It was just, they never really, it wasn't important for them to explain it, but they never really explained it. So that was the first thing I noticed in this movie. So they called it Mother, basically the person that gives them the information for their mission. And Mother is supposed to only be seen by the person in charge. So in this case, it would be Tom Skerritt's character of Dallas. And when he dies, it goes to Ripley. Now Ash knows, but Ash is another character. And you'll see later on why Ash knows. I don't want to reveal nothing yet. So if Mother's transmissions for Dallas are supposed to be basically top secret, and they're supposed to be for his eyes only, as he says numerous times in the movie, why is there a giant window on the door behind him, where literally anybody could just walk up and just look through the window and read what's on the transmission board, what Mother is saying? And they turn so that their back is to the window, so literally somebody could just break the window and come in and attack them if they wanted to. It just doesn't make sense for that window to be there, because it's supposed to be top secret, so it should be a sealed door, a solid door, with no window. But I guess maybe it's an emergency thing in case they have to get out quickly, they can bust out the window. I don't know. It was just one of those things that it's like, when you really think about it, if it's supposed to be top secret, why is the window there for them to look at? And they turn so that the screen is facing the window so anybody could just look in and see it. The next one I found is the planet that they end up waking up out of their pods because of a transmission that was sent, basically an SOS or some form of transmission. And they decide to investigate the transmission because that's what their protocol tells them to do. Not protocol as in it's in their body, but that's what their mission is to investigate any, contact that they may have with another species. So it's never really explained what planet they land on, or how they got to that planet. It's also never explained really how the xenomorphs or the aliens in this movie got to this planet. Was this their home world? We don't really know that yet. But they investigate this planet, and I would assume it would be the xenomorph home planet because of the things we see there, with all the eggs and stuff. But it's just never really mentioned that it's their home world. So did they also invade this planet? Was this the giant creature that we see later on? Speaking of which, what is the giant creature that they discovered? There was a giant creature that was there on what looked like a giant telescope or a laser beam shooter thing that was pointed outward, and its chest was burst open because the alien came out of it. But what was that? And I know it is explained in Prometheus what this creature was, but again, going just to the Alien movie, we never really learn what that is. They don't take a DNA sample from it to try to test it. They just kind of look at it and move on. And so, did the xenomorphs come to their planet? Is that what this planet is? They never really explain that, and it kind of gets a little convoluted because it's like, who's the native species to this planet? And then also, speaking of the ship, when you look at the ship from the outside, it's not small necessarily, but it doesn't look like there would be that much space in it. And then all of a sudden, when they go in, there's 3 different layers of, where they can walk on the ship, and they fall through this hole and land in this weird ground-looking area where all the eggs are. So it just looks like there's multiple layers, and it doesn't look like the type of ship that would have that many layers. So it doesn't really make sense that the ship is kind of more compact on the outside, and then on the inside is just this vast area. It's kind of like the pit in Jurassic Park, which I mentioned in my inconsistencies for Jurassic Park, the T-Rex enclosure, when the T-Rex just walks out and it's a flat land when he comes out and attacks the cars, but then later on when he pushes the car down in, they're all of a sudden in a ditch. So it's like, where did that ditch come from? It's the same thing here. Why is there so much space in such a small area? And I guess in context, I guess the ship could have been a lot bigger on the outside. It just, the way the camera was made it look smaller than it should have been compared to the inside. Also, if this was the breeding ground or whatever you want to call it for the xenomorphs, and when they land down inside the area where all the eggs are, why did only one egg open? We see there's a bunch of these different eggs all sitting there, and maybe it's just because there was one person, so they only needed one egg. Maybe they could sense that, but you would think that if they were all meant to hatch at the same time, then they would all hatch at the same time, for the face huggers to pop out and attach itself to the people. But only one opens, so it's kind of like, why didn't the other ones open type of thing? They might have done it for dramatic effect, this one's opening because he's looking at it. But it doesn't really make sense that only one opened when they were all there. And then again, I'm going to compare it to other ones, even though technically I said you shouldn't, but in all the other ones, every egg opens at the same time, and they have to kind of destroy all of them. So I don't really know why they only had one open here and not all of them like they should have. Next is the character played by John Hurt. His name is Kane. He's the one that discovers the eggs and then gets the face hugger put on him, and the alien eventually pops out of his chest when they get back on the ship. They split up, so Dallas, played by Tom Skerritt, and Lambert, I forget her name, and Kane, played by John Hurt, split up. So Dallas and Lambert go one way, and Kane goes by himself. And then Dallas and Lambert don't really know where Kane ends up, and yet they're still able to find him and bring him back to the ship. And they never really show them going to find him. They never really show how they get out of the ship. So that's kind of a thing there where it's like, well, how did they find him? and how did they get out, because he fell down, down this hole into this area. So did they climb back out and go out the way they came in, or did they just find another exit there? Like, I would have liked to have kind of seen a little bit more in that scenario of what happened. The next thing, so we find out that Ash is an android, or kind of like a robotic species, I guess. And he was designed to accompany these people on the ship. He was the science division thing. That's what he was programmed for. So if he's an android, we do see he ends up being able to drink. I don't know if it's coffee or whatever they drink. But if he's a robot, technically he shouldn't be able to do that. So, I know they had to keep up the character of he's a real person because they didn't have that reveal yet. But looking back on it, he shouldn't be able to drink anything because you would think it would mess up his circuits and stuff if he's an android. So that really doesn't make any sense. They keep mentioning to the company that sent them there, but they never really have a name for the company. Who is the company? What do they do? Do they work for the government? Do they work as a special division of a science organization? Are they part of NASA? We don't know. They just call them the company. So I think we do find out later on who the company was. I think in 3 or 4. And technically, I guess, Prometheus and Covenant. But in this one, they never really mention who that is. So that's kind of an inconsistency there, where it doesn't really mention who the company is that they work for. The next one I have is why does the shuttle not have, or I guess the Nostromo, whatever ship they take to land on the planet, it only has landing thrusters, so that when it lands, they can slow down and it can speed up to take off. But it doesn't have any on the back, so it basically just floats through space from the main portal that they're on to the planet. And so it actually shows that it's just kind of floating in space. And it really doesn't make any sense because, yeah, you'd be able to steer, I guess, but you don't have anything to tell you to go faster that way, so you might end up drifting one way instead of the other. But I guess you'd get caught in the gravitational pull of the planet, I guess. I don't know if that's what they were relying on or not. But it was just something weird that really didn't make any sense, because every other space movie I've watched, they've always had thrusters in the back of the ship so that the ship can speed up, slow down, whatever you need to do, and go in the right direction. So we also learn about these face huggers and that they put something inside them and then the alien pops out of their chest. If the face huggers pop out of an egg, they hatch from the egg, what are they pumping inside the person to create the xenomorph? Because is something that popped out of an egg laying another egg for another thing to pop out? I guess that's kind of how that works anyways. Like when chickens lay eggs, more chickens pop out, and then eventually they'll lay more eggs for more chickens. I guess that makes sense, but it's kind of a different species of alien if you think about it that pops out of them. So what does it look like, whatever they're pumping into it? Do they just pump the DNA in, or do they kind of, lay an egg inside them? I don't know. It's weird, and it's kind of creepy to think about, but also it's one of those questions that I wish we could kind of see what exactly is happening when it's attached to the face, just so we have a better understanding of what is actually going on and how it truly affects the person that it's putting the alien inside. So there's a scene where when the alien pops out of John Hurt's chest, John Hurt's character Kane, the alien sees or hears everybody around it and takes off running. But when you look at the scene, it pops out of his chest as he's laying on the table. And so it's still sitting inside his body, basically. Like its legs are still inside. And we never see it like climb up out and then go running off. It just kind of takes off. So basically what they're saying is John Hurt had no body over here and it just took off and ran, which doesn't make any sense. Anatomy wise, because you have the whole right side of his body that you'd have to climb over before you could run away. So that was just a thing. They just kind of had the puppet, I would assume it was a puppet, just kind of take off running, and technically it should have had to go up and then over, the curve of his body before he could run away. They also mention, they split up to find the xenomorph after it pops up out of his chest. And Dallas says if anyone sees the thing, they're to catch it in the net that is being held by the character Parker. Well, they're splitting into two teams, and they have one net. So what exactly are they supposed to do if the other team finds the xenomorph? They don't have a net. So that was kind of a flaw there. Like, you should have had somebody else from the other team also have a net, because otherwise you're just going to catch it with your bare hands, I guess. I don't know. And I guess they were hoping that Parker would be quick enough to make it across to the other side of the ship before they lose it. I don't know. So that was one of the big things for me, was like, how are they going to catch it if they're on the other team because they don't have a net? And then also, we see a lot of the plot has to deal with this cat named Jones. And I think it's Ripley's cat. I don't know if they ever say that or not. At least in the follow-up ones. I know they don't in this one. So why is there a cat? What was the purpose of bringing a cat? Is it to see if the cat could survive the cryogenic sleep? And who did the cat sleep with in cryogenics? Because, we never really see it come out of one of the pods when they all wake up. And if it didn't go into cryogenics, why is it not dead? I don't know. Jones was just a weird character. And then, of course, the whole plot, everybody keeps chasing after the cat. And, they have the alien, or they're tracking the alien. They think they found it, and here it ends up being the cat, but the cat runs away. And then they flip out and say that he should go find the cat because it might trip the signal thing that they have again, the detector thing. And so he goes off on his own to find the cat. Well, why not just let it go off again, find the cat, and then grab it that time in the net, and then you'll have the cat with you, and then use the net the next time, because next time it goes off, you'll know it's the alien. So they keep going after this cat, and really, I'm sorry, I'm an animal lover, but I don't know, when there's an alien running around, I don't know that I'd be more concerned about the cat. Brett was the guy's name who went after Jones the cat, went off on his own, and then obviously ends up dead from the alien, because the cat is in the same room as the alien when he runs away. And then Dallas asks Parker and Ripley what happens, and they're able to say, the monster was huge and it attacked them and whatever. And my question is, how do they know that? Because from what we see in the movie, Brett is on his own, and I'm pretty sure Jones didn't tell them because he's a cat. So how do they know, unless they got there at the end? But they say they didn't find the body. So how do Ripley and Parker know what happened to Brett? I mean, they obviously know that he's gone and he got killed by the thing. But how do they know what it looked like? How do they know what exactly happened to Brett? Because they weren't in that room, at least not from what we saw. And if they were, then I think they should have showed that on the camera, because it would have changed the scene a lot more. Because then we could have watched the fight scene where they try to capture the thing and save Brett, but it doesn't work, and Brett ends up getting killed. So if he wasn't by himself, they definitely should have brought that up. So that doesn't make sense that they know exactly what happened to Brett because they weren't in there to see it. And then when Dallas gets killed by the alien, the xenomorph, whatever you want to call it, Ripley now gains access to Mother. And my question is, how does she know what to do to get access to Mother? Because you have to pull out your little card, put it in, type in a code, and then you gain access to Mother, because it's, you're the person in charge now. How does Ripley know this unless she was trained on this ahead of time? But they never really explained that so and so got trained, and they all got trained in case everybody else was dead. They would still have access to it, down the line of command, I guess. I guess that could make sense, but I wish they would have kind of went into detail about how that process worked. And then Ripley's in there talking to Mother, and it's saying that it can't tell her anything, and it's for the science eyes only, for the science division to bring the specimen back, blah, blah, blah. And then Ash appears in the room. Well, if the room is supposed to be secured, for whoever the person is that has access to Mother, and only that person, then when the door shuts behind Ripley, you would assume that the door locks, and yet Ash is able to get in. So unless Ash also put in his code and stuff at the same time to get in, but you don't hear the door open, which you hear the rest of the time when people go in. I mean, I don't know. He could have. I guess that's the logical answer, but they never really showed it because they wanted it to be kind of like a surprise that he pops up. But it just doesn't make sense continuity-wise that he's able to get in, especially if Ripley is supposed to be the one in charge. Why is Ash able to get in? And then also, right after that, Ash starts to malfunction, and we never really learn the cause of it. Like, he's an android, so did his programming overshoot or something, and like his memory core, whatever you want to call it, just kind of like went nuts, and so he started going insane and tried to kill Ripley. Was he programmed to do that? If they tried to prevent him from bringing the specimen back to the headquarters, was he supposed to kill them? I don't know. We never really learned what happened. We just learned that he was an android. So yeah, he just malfunctions, I guess. Is that what all robots do? They just malfunction all of a sudden? I don't know. It's never really explained what happened. And then at the end, Ripley blasts the alien off into space. Eventually, she's the only survivor, and she flies away in the shuttle as the Nostromo self-destructs, because she set the self-destructs to have the ship blow up in case the alien was still on there. And on that note, how did the alien get in the shuttle in the first place? Because she blows up the Nostromo thinking that the alien was still on board. So before their battle scene, like, how did the alien know to get on that shuttle? Like, it knew that the rest of the place was going to blow up. Why wouldn't it just stay on the ship? Because it was hiding. Like, it didn't just pop up. It was hiding on the ship. So it purposely went in, crawled into a section, and hid there. Like, how did it comprehend that it had to be in there? And when did it get in there? Because we never really saw. I mean, it would have time because she went back for the cat. So I guess it would have time with the shuttle being open and stuff. But then when the Nostromo explodes, there were 3 explosions that look kind of like the explosions from Jango Fett's ship when he drops the the thermal detonators or whatever, and it does the boom, and then the blast goes a long distance. There's 3 of those. The ship can only explode once. Why did there have to be 3 explosions? I never really understood that. I guess it was just for visual effect. But I never really truly understood why they had to have 3 explosions, because it doesn't make sense for something to explode 3 times. Especially when the whole ship blew. Now, I could see if there was like different parts of the ship, like this part blew up first, then this part blew up, then this part. But the whole ship blew up at one time, the first time. So you didn't need the other 2 explosions. And then, again, I already mentioned how did the alien know to get on the shuttle in the first place. They never really I guess it could be an intelligent creature. I would assume it is, because it knows how to work its way around and find people that it wants to kill. But yeah, it's never really shown how truly smart these things are. So is it smart enough to know what's going on? I don't know. It could be. And again, later on, we learn a lot more about these creatures. But for this movie itself, that didn't really make any sense. So anyways, guys, there you go. Those are my inconsistencies that I found in Alien. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you check out everything else that we upload or uploaded for Halloween. And if you haven't watched any of my other inconsistencies videos, go ahead and check it out. There's a playlist on our channel for inconsistencies, so you can check those out. I did the Jurassic Park movies. I think I did Friday the 13th and Halloween, and maybe a couple others. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.